Hello world, this is San. I'll be playing MA Abysia in the Dominions 5 game, Stairway to Eternity. And a lot of people have already said that this is quite a weird nascent choice, and I personally haven't seen a lot of it, but I'm a big fan of fire, blood, astral magic, and this seems to be the nation. I wish they had a few other paths, but they're really good at these three and really bad at Earth, but they have a little bit of it. So this is going to be a quick, hopefully quick, national overview slash pretended design going on at the same time. And the reason I say quick is because they're units. There's not a lot, and of what there is, they mostly do the same thing. So first, I'll just go through the units. They have these little human breads, and they're pretty much just human infantry that won't get lit on fire because the nation is a bunch of essentially like lava people, I guess. Hot wasteland, burning men. Most of them are so hot that they cannot wield wooden weapons, despite having spears with that. But so far, the lore is to believe they cannot wield wooden weapons. They cannot have light armor. It has to be this big, bulky, heavy plate, which is pretty cool. In EA, they have plate armor, which is top hat. In MA, it's still good, but it's getting to be a little bit more common. So, anyways, these are the basic human guys, and they're just the chaffiest chaff that ever did chaff. The best part about them is they're not going to get lit on fire, and they have a tower shield. The worst part about them is that for whatever reason, they're actually really expensive, like 13 and 14. They're pretty darn pricey for average stats. Um, Anyways, so those are the human bred, and now we're going to go to the actual real Abyssines. You have the two-handed axe variety, and you have the flail variety. They both have their uses. They're both absurdly expensive, but they're also very, very tanky because of their plate hauberks. They radiate heat, which means people around them are going to get lit on fire or fall asleep. They can see in the dark, and they're fire resistant, extremely fire resistant. They have pretty high strength, acceptable attack skill, and laughable defense. They're slow as molasses, and they'll get tired quickly. The hope is that the enemy also gets tired quickly. This attack here is 11 attack basic, but it has a +2 versus shields, and most units have shields. So essentially, it can be looked at as like a 13 versus shields. And it's going to swing twice, which means it's going to double up on the harassment penalties. And since these guys are size 2, you can stick 3 in a square. So you can essentially have 6 attacks going out in your square at 19 damage, which is respectable, and fairly high attack skill, while the enemy is getting tired or being lit on fire, or both. One tiny thing to note, they're very young because they have a very low max age. They age quick, so burden of time is horrendously bad against or as Abysia. Not many people are going to do that. Not many people like casting that spell. I'm probably one of like a handful that actually do like casting it, but as Abysia, I cannot do that. So that's them. This is kind of like the be-all, catch-all, because it's respectable damage, 2 attacks, good against shields. If I'm fighting giants or something that just really needs to get hit really hard, the Battle Axe variety has slightly higher defense. They don't get the +2 against shields, so the Battle Axe stays at 11. But it's slightly higher defense and it's a bigger initial hit, so this will be good against like thugs or giants or whatnot. Against humans, the problem with humans is you do limb hits, and when you hit their limb, it goes to, I think it caps out at half their health. I'm not sure if that's a number, but for a human, it's 5. So it's like, hey, I hit you for 25 damage. Oh, but I hit your arm. I guess I'm only hitting you for 5 damage. I personally hate that. So a lot of this extra damage gets wasted unless it hits the body or the head. So that's those two. This variety, same thing. You have an axe and you have a Morning Star. And the only difference between the last guys is now these weapons are one-handed, so they're going to pick up a tower shield. They're going to get even slower, but now they have respectable defense. Scary, right? They get tired even faster, and in most cases they do less damage. So like this Morning Star is going to hit as hard as the two-handed variety, keeps the attack bonus, but it's only going to swing once. The Axeman It's you're losing 4 damage for about 4 defense, if I remember correctly. It's not terrible. It's just you have a 10 to hit, which is not great, and 11 to defend is also not great. So it's weird when I'll find the time or the opportunity, I guess, to recruit these two guys. Because if I need someone to catch arrows or catch lances, I'll recruit these guys. And then if I need someone to do damage, I'll recruit, these two. So when I need someone to do both is going to be difficult because they're very slow. They're not great at either because they're expensive, so you can't have as many of them. And they're very slow. So later on, when like thunder strikes are happening, so they're going to hit a ton. I'm going to skip over this guy real quick. Go to the Salamander. These guys are fantastic. They're just absurdly expensive. They're absurdly expensive. Their stats almost don't matter. They're going to get hit by whatever you swing at them with. Their attack skill doesn't matter. Their encumbrance is insanely high, so they're not going to swing a lot. They're undisciplined, and they're not fast. But here's a problem: Abyssines are slow. So 12 combat speed is actually fast. If you remember, the shield guys have 5. These guys have 7. I think the human ones can go at 9. 9 is fast, guys. So at 12, this is Abyssine Cavalry. It has good hit points, good natural protection, good magic resistance for an animal that's not bad morale. For an animal, that's actually amazing magic resistance. But again, the problems is they're fast and they're undisciplined. So if I have to use them right, I essentially need to put my forces as far forward as possible, which almost always I'm going to do anyways, but you never know. And these guys as far back as possible with the hopes that they get to the fight at the same time. Because these guys are going to die. It's 50 gold. I don't want it to die, but it's going to do this attack, Fire Flare, which is length 5. If I remember correctly, it can't be repelled. It's going to do fire damage, and it's magic damage for 20. And it's not just 20, it's 20 armor piercing, which means if you have 10 armor, for the purposes of defending against this, you have 5 armor. Now, if you have fire resistance, it's a whole other calculation. And it hits the entire square. So if you have 3 dudes with 10 hit points and 10 armor, and this breathes fire on them, it's going to hit all 3 of the dudes for 15 damage, and then obviously there's dice rolls happening. But it should hit 3 dudes for 15 damage. And if they're little humans with 10 health, all 3 of them are probably going to die. It's really useful too if there's elves, because since it hits the square, it's going to hit through the glamour, and elves are usually made of paper if you actually hit them. It's just such a great attack. It's just hard to use properly and very expensive. I will always be wanting to use this, but it will be difficult to use this. And then minor thing, it cannot be used to repel, and it cannot be repelled. So if he got the range, he's going to use this on you. You can't stop it, and it's going to hurt. So that's this guy. And then, he has firepower, so it'll do more damage depending on the heat scales. So that's nice. Now, the last unit is going to be the Lava Warrior. And if you know anything about the Burning One from EA, this guy's that, but worse in almost every possible way. And I mean almost every possible way. He does one thing better, in my opinion, is that he hits more often. I think he hits less hard because he's size 2, but he hits more often because now you fit 2 of these guys to a square, whereas the Burning Ones were 1 to a square. Not 3 because they have bad formation fighter. At 2 to square, now they're swinging for 4 of these guys. These guys don't swing twice, but I'm trying to pretend they're in a square with someone else. So each square is swinging 4 Morning Stars for 20 damage. At 11, 11 plus 2, so at 13, they're swinging that. They have firepower. So in Heat 3, they're going to get +1 to most of these stats. I don't know defense skill, and as you can tell here, it doesn't matter what their defense skill is. They're going to get hit. So if I add 3 to attack and 3 to strength, I'm going to be swinging at 14 for 23. 16 versus shields. Most units have like 10 defense on average. So 16 versus shields. It's either blunt or pierce. Blunt does more damage to head hits. Pierce lowers armor by 20%. And they're swinging for 23. because of the firepower. They also berserk, +3. And what that means is they're going to get 3 more strength, 3 more attack skill, and 3 more natural protection. And they're going to take 3 encumbrance a turn. So it'd be 9 encumbrance a turn, essentially. But now these calculations are going to be 17 against normal targets, 19 versus shields on the attack, and 26 on their swings. That's as good as the two-handed axeman, with twice the chance to hit and 4 times as many swings. it's a lot. It's going to hit pretty hard. And most things already can't deal with that. Like as is, that's it. That will kill most things. The problem with these guys, and just in case, they have the same fire aura, the same heat resistance, wasteland survival, see in the dark. All Abyssines get that. Problem with these guys is defense skill 3. Anyone that swings at them is going to hit. They have really good protection, especially once they berserk and they get that +3 natural protection. So this is kind of like a glass cannon, whereas the burning one could stand his ground, because I think they have like 30 hit points or something dumb. These guys cannot. These guys are the more glass cannon variety, which is fine because there's a lot scarier things out there that need to get hit in the face by a Morningstar for 26 damage. Also, that's important, they have very low recruitment point cost for such like an elite unit, and their gold cost isn't that bad. Burning ones were like 75 or something each. These are 30. This is a lot more manageable. And those are the units. This is the big sacred unit, and any bless I do goes to these guys. They're mages. They're commanders. We have an assassin. Not sacred in MA. He's only sacred in late age. Just sucks. Sacred these guys is great. They have very good attack skill. Their dagger makes it better, and their dagger also has a poison on it. So if they hit you, you're not poison resistant. 15 poison damage is a lot. That's if you already survived the double 16 hit. Excuse me. They see pretty good in the dark, not 100%. Usually assassination fights happen at night, where most units take a -3 penalty to their attack and defense. These guys only take a -1. They have fairly good protection, fairly good magic resistance, morale, hit points. For a size 2 unit, 17 hit points is good. Most size 2s have 10 to 11. Good mat move, low encumbrance. For 1 recruitment point, assassinate someone. It's fantastic. If you add items to it, it gets even better. A good combo I like to do is either a water bottle, I don't remember the name of the item. It's a contract that makes you spawn imps perpetually. Just 2 imps a turn forever. And then some sort of ranged weapon. I usually do like a bow of war. And the purpose of the ranged weapon is turn 1. And I know they have terrible precision. But turn 1, shoot your whatever. With a bow of war, it's 13 projectiles. Hope one of them hits. Because when you're assassinating mages, they're probably going to have some sort of spell. And that spell is going to kill you. Be it Swarm or Summon an Elemental or Thunderstrike. It'll probably kill you before you get in range and stab them. But while they're casting the spell, if you hit them with an arrow, just 1, there's a good chance it's going to interrupt the spell. So I like giving them a ranged weapon. I like giving them bow of war because their precision's not that good. And that ends up praying that, okay, they're going to interrupt the spell. And then what's actually going to kill them is whatever the community calls them Pokemon. Either the imps, the water elemental. You can do Vinemen. So there's a few items that you can give them. And that's it. So that'll be, 10 to 15 gems per assassin. And they'll chew through, in theory, they'll chew through a lot of nations. I've played games where I've been brought down to my knees due to assassins and seductresses. So it's pretty good. The Beast Trainer, it's just an Abyssian with terrible stats. They have Animal, which it's difficult to find a use for this. They have Beastmaster 3, which means they get +3 when commanding units, which would be the Salamanders, or commanding animals, which are the Salamanders. Problem is they have a -1 already, so it's actually a +2. So it puts them to 9 morale, or to 11 morale from 9 morale, which is okay. It doesn't really fix anything with them, because if they're getting hit, they're dying anyways. So I don't know why I'd get these. They're weird. The Warlords are just big Abyssians on steroids. They're very good commanders, 80 leadership +1. They hit hard. They have terrible defense. What these guys would be for if I had the spare slots to recruit them to lead an army, which would be difficult, and I'll explain why later. What I would mainly use this guy for is if I needed a thug. If I need to thug something, this is not a bad chassis to do it because he has pretty good hit points. His default armor isn't terrible. It's a lot of encumbrance for a thug, but we'll figure it out. Magic resistance is good, morale's good. Slow as molasses, but it's probably the armor. So yeah, if I need a thug, I'll just use this guy. And I know he doesn't have magic pass. That's fine. There's ways around it. Yeah, so great starting, great commander. Just hard to find the time to recruit him for that purpose. Otherwise, good thug chassis if I get around to it. Now, the first mage is a recruit anywhere guy. Unfortunately, it's my main researcher, or at least my most widespread researcher. There's one turn recruitment, absurdly expensive, but he's a Fire 2 H2. So if I'm fighting the undead, fantastic. Although there's H2s for much cheaper than this. He's sacred, which usually won't matter. Fire resistant, he Abysia things. He's 33 years old, and that's considered old age, so he'll eventually die of disease unless I can get research down the line where they can light themselves on fire to purge diseases. The main thing these guys are good for is leading troops, because 50 leadership for a mage is not bad. 13 morale is actually, for a mage, really good. Most mages have like 9, 8. So 13 morale, 14 in friendly dominion. It's hard to seduce them. They're more mildly more resistant to Wailing Winds, which is a shenanigan spell. They can lead undead, which in my case will be demons. They can lead magic, which in my case could be like fire drakes. I think they're magical. I'm not sure. In battle, they can cast a few spells. Obviously, the first one people are going to think is Fireball. Fireball's okay. They made it a lot better recently. The good one is like Fire Strike. I think it's called Fire Strike. It's like a very high evocation spell. It's essentially Thunder Strike but with fire. That one's fantastic. Each one of these guys can cast that. They can summon fire elementals, Will-O-Wisps, which I'm starting to use more and like more. They can craft lightless lanterns, which is what's going to make them actually worth it as researchers. They're still not great. It's a 0.5 research efficiency, so like half a research point per 10 gold. It's nutty. It's just good that they can lead troops. They have good secondary stats. They're sacred. And early on they have a spell to cast. Later on they have a spell to cast. Everyone hates them. I think they're good. Just if this would be like 145 gold, I think that'd be so much better. 185 is a lot. Anyways, you got these guys. They're also recruit anywhere. They're slower to recruit. Somehow they found a way to be more expensive. But this has a purpose. Ignoring everything else because the other guy can do everything else better. They have better fire magic, so they can do higher level fire spells like Firestorm or whatnot. They have an Earth one, and there's a special spell that they can cast that requires fire and Earth, but odds are I'm not going to cast it. I don't remember what it is because it's not even something I particularly care about. Them having Earth magic means they're an absurdly expensive Earth mage. I'll put boots on them. They can cast Legions of Steel. They can't cast it a lot because it's going to be Earth 2. Earth 3 with Earth power. But my troops have really good armor as is. So Legions of Steel, I won't have good access to it, but what access I do will be devastating in and of itself. Because my troops have good armor, and they already hit hard, so Legion of Steel and Strength of Giants would be really good. They're Holy 3, so they can cast all the smites and all that good stuff. They can cast Divine Blessing, and they can claim thrones. So although there probably won't be many of these out on the field, they're fantastic. I'm glad I have access to them. You won't see many. And what few you do, I will take very good care of them. Like I probably won't be recruiting them until I can get rid of diseases because I don't want to recruit 285 gold and then they die of disease. They're 42 years old and that's way above max age. It's rough, but we can handle the diseases. Now, these other three are for the capital only. The Warlock Apprentice is, I mean, he's great. I wish he wasn't capital only. I would totally pay 135 gold, even though he's not sacred, to recruit him anywhere for 2 recruitment points. Astral 1 Blood 2 is perfect. They can do 2 of my favorite spells, Bloodletting and Astral Healing. They can do Astral Communions for Soul Slay and Enslaved Mind. They can do Body Ethereal, Luck, or just any of the blood magic like Agony, Leech. Blood Burst, I think, is a baby's first leech. Is expensive, but they can do it because they're Blood 2 instead of Blood 1. And then it's the usual stuff. These are kind of like the budget mage. If I don't have enough money to recruit the real mage, which is likely, these guys are expensive. So the other mage is the Warlock. And how I said earlier, the Salamander was the most widespread research mage. This is the research mage because they are fast to recruit, 1 per turn, from the capital only, and they'll do 17 for 285. Now their upkeep, that just hurts to look at, but what you get for this expensive price tag is some old dude who can handle that old age. There's spells and blood and fire to do it, which is great. That's going to be Astral 2, Blood 3, all of them. They can random Astral 3 or Blood 4, which is great on its own. They can get Fire or Earth, these are both really important crosspaths because the Fire Astral crosspath gets Eclipse, which makes it kind of dark, and Abyssine Sea in the dark. So it's a huge penalty for whoever I'm fighting, and my units don't particularly care, which is good because they already have bad stats. So anything they can get will help. They can random Earth. The odds are they might not be dropping really big Earth magic because they're their own commune slaves, them and the apprentices. But since they come from the same source, it's almost always these guys. And I'd rather not lose a commune slave to casting an army of X. So they might not be doing a lot of Earth magic out in the fields because they'll need a communion for it. What it's useful for is there's a few important items you can get with Blood Earth crosspath. Same thing, there's a good item for Earth Astral and Earth Fire, but I have Earth Fire on the H3s. And then there's a 10% chance they get something else. And I've had, just casually recruited Blood 5. Like, it's crazy. What these guys can do is insane. With the hat, they can all teleport. Some of them, a fourth of them, can teleport without it. So this is also a Magic Phase Goon Squad that can do things. Yeah, they're just really good. Like 17 research points a turn. Okay, expensive, but hey, they got stuff to do. This is the nation right here. Everyone talks about, oh, these fire guys, they suck because all Abysia does is fire magic. Like, no. This is your mage right here. This is what you do things with. These guys, decoration. And then MA Abysia gets this variety, which is almost as expensive as the big Warlock. Really good stats. I mean, defense skill, but whatever. It's mage. Great leaders in every capacity. Undead, demons, magic. The mat move is a lot, unlike other Abyssines, because they fly. And with flying, they can technically be raiding. They can lead devil squads, which is not many people are expecting, but they're just really pricey. They're slow to recruit, so most of their cost is opportunity cost, because for every one of these winged guys you can get, these demon bred, you can have 2 warlocks. So it's most of their cost is in opportunity. They have traditional Abyssine things. They blood hunt very well, so blood hunt's like a blood 3. Again, the problem is opportunity cost. If I want blood hunters, I can get baby warlocks. I can get 2 baby warlocks for the price of one of these guys, and they blood hunt better because there's 2 baby warlocks instead of demon bred, or just more of these. I'll find a use for them. I want them to lead devil squads. I want them to maybe thug, SC, do something. We'll find something that they can do. And that is my plan for how I'm actually going to run, I guess, their unit roster. We'll talk about the Lesson of God in a different episode. So for now, see you around.